Hi, everybody, and welcome back to this session of Beyond Getting Started. This is going to be the last session we're recording. And today we're going to take a look at actions. And we're going to look at all different types of actions, be they filter actions, highlight actions, parameter actions. But let's go ahead and get started. Just a word about myself. We may not have met before. My name is Jim Dehner. I'm one of the Tableau Visionaries. I'm also an ambassador. I co-lead the Tableau Newbie User Group as well as the Nashville Tug. And if you live anywhere in or around Nashville, we'd love to have you as a member of that tug. Just look us up, join us. We'd love to have you come to one of our live meetings, or we also do meetings virtually. Let's talk about actions, and we're going to start with some very simple filter actions. Now, those of you who have been with me on other sessions here know that I like to use Superstore data because that's the same data set, the same practice data set that you got with your copy of Tableau. And we're going to work off this dashboard. I've got two worksheets on this dashboard. One worksheet, it's a very simple text chart. All I've done is place category on rows and I put year of order date on columns, and then I've just applied sum of sales in the worksheet. I've also created a line chart, and the line chart looks at all years and all months. I've got a continuous month on columns, and I'm also looking at sum of sales, and I placed category on color. So we can see the three lines for furniture, office supplies, and technology going across the line chart. Now, what I'd like to do with filters here, with a filter action on this dashboard, is I'd like to pass the values from this text table over to this line chart and use those values to filter the chart. Now I'm going to show you how I've done that, and I'm going to go up here to dashboard. And if you're working on a dashboard, you'd go to dashboard and then to action. If you're working on a worksheet, you go to worksheet and action. We'll go to dashboard, action, right down here, actions. And a window opens up, and you can see I've got a lot of them created. I'm just going to look at this sheet so that it's a little easier to see. And I've created a filter action. Now I'm going to show you how that's done, and we'll go through step by step here. You want to create a new action. You come down to this button and open it up, and you have a choice. You can create a filter action like we're going to do here, a highlight action, a go to a URL. You're going to go out to the internet. Go to a sheet, we can change parameters or we can change set values. Well, let's just create one. We're going to open up a filter and create a new filter action. And there are several things you do here. Well, first of all, give it a name. And please do, because they do get confusing, as you saw. That's a very busy drop down. And then there's two sheets that are involved. There's a source sheet. And the source sheet is where we're going to get the values from that we're going to pass over to the target sheet. Now, what I've done in this action is our source sheet is the text table, and our target sheet is the trend lines, and I have done this on hover. I had a choice. I could have done it on select, where I actually select a value in the chart, or on menu, if there's a menu on the chart that I want to use, but I selected hover. And then you just select OK, and you go from there. I'm going to show you how to use these selected filters, or this section down here, in just a moment. Okay, now I've done this already, so I'm going to open that up again, just so you can see what I've done. We come down here to edit filter, and you can see that, lo and behold, that's exactly what we did. I've got this set to hover, and there's nothing down here. And we're going to say OK. Well, now what we're going to do is we're going to pass any value off of this text chart to our line chart. So if we wanted to look at this chart, the line chart, just for office supplies, we could hover over office supplies. And when we hover over office supplies, all we're looking at is office supplies for the entire time period. If I wanted to look at a year, for example, we could hover over the year, and now we're looking at all the months of the year. I happen to be on 2020 there, all the months of the year, and we're looking at all three categories. or we can come to a specific point and look at that combination of year and category. So if I'm here on 2021, I'm looking at all the months for 2021 for the office supply category. Or we can look here at the furniture category for 2020. So now you got an idea of how the action works. What's actually happening here is the values from this text chart are being passed to the line chart. And if you were to look over here at the line chart, you can see that there's a filter that was created. The action itself creates the filter. I didn't create this filter manually. And you can see that the action is passing both category and the year of order date. And that's what's being passed to this line chart. Now, I could also do this the other way. I want to take a look and pass values from the line chart back over to the text chart. Well, I've got an action set up to do that. Let's open that up. We're going to open up the action. And once again, I'm just going to go to this sheet because it's easier to find. There's no magic there. It's just a matter of seeing what's on the sheet. And now we're going from the trend chart, from this line chart, to the text chart. And I'm going to do it on hover again. And now here's where I make a little change. I'm only going to pass the category. So I come down and selected fields, and you can select what field you want to pass from one chart to the other chart. And the field I selected is we're going to only select the category. And I'm going to show you why I did that here in just a second. Okay, so now when I come from the line chart, I can hover on technology here. And now I see technology for all the years involved. Or we can come in here and we could take a look at, what have we got? We can take a look at furniture. We can take a look at furniture over time, or we could take a look at office supplies. Now, I want to show you what would happen if I had not put that. I'm going to edit this. And if I hadn't put this in here, if I hadn't passed the category and I passed all values, I'm just going to remove this. That's what I'm just going to remove that, and I'm going to pass all fields. Now when I come to this chart, I get one value. I pass both the year of the order date, and I passed the category, so I've only got one value. But by applying only the category, and by only passing the category, I keep all the years of the order date in the chart. Let's take a look at some other options that we've got. Here I created a scatter plot, and what I want to do is I want to highlight the data by subcategory on the scatter plot. And let's take a look at how I created the scatter plot. A scatter plot just as a way of looking at two different measures, and then we can plot against that. And I plotted product name here, plotted all the products against the sum of sales and the sum of profit. And you can see the chart's very busy. Okay. So I wanted to have a way that I could look at each individual subcategory. I could have done this with a filter, and I could have done a drop down to look at each individual subcategory, but I like to use what I call value pickers. And the value picker here, and I'm going to show you what it is nothing more than a simple chart. It's a square chart, and I have placed all the subcategories here on columns, and I place the name of the subcategory in the chart. And I'm going to use this as a value picker, and I'm going to be able to pick the value from this chart and place it in a highlight action on the dashboard. Let's see how we go about doing that. So I've got the value picker above the category, or the scatter plot. And what I want to do is I want to go to Dashboard, Actions. I've already set this up. Okay. And let's see how that one looks. I've given it a name. I am going to go from the value picker, from this row up here. I'm going to pick a value, and I'm going to do it on hover again. And I want to apply the highlight. This is a highlight filter. I want to apply it to both the scatter plot and to the value picker. So I see them both highlight. And the value I want to use, we're going to select the value, and that's the subcategory. That's the way highlight filters are set up. Okay. And we set that up, and just so you see where it came from here. Right there is where it came from. And I've got this all set up. So now when I hover over envelopes, for example, you can see that only the envelope products, the envelope SKUs, are highlighted in the chart. And we could come over and we could look at paper, for example, or we could look at storage, and we can see those values that are highlighted. But what I wanted to show you here is how to use the value picker. I like using value pickers a whole lot. I don't like users having to go to drop downs and opening up a drop down and selecting on. There's a way to avoid it. I like to use it. Well, probably the most frequent value picker I use is a map. And I like to use maps. First of all, they convey a lot of information to the end user, and they're pretty easy. They're pretty easy to use as a value picker. And in this case, what I've done is I've set up a map. And on this map, when I set up the map, I created a set. And I'm going to show you how to use not just the value picker, but I'm going to use the value picker to create a set. And we're going to use that set and pass that set over to the bar chart that you see here. This set is nothing more than all I've done is I've gone to the use all option on the general tab, and that's all this set is at this point. There are no values in the set when I first started. Okay. And I've created a sales bar chart. And on the sales bar, what I've done, and what's going to get passed here again, and you're going to see it here is this set filter. I want to show the filter here. Right now, it's got all the values in there for all states. Okay. Oops. I just don't want to show that there. I'm going to hide that. Okay. And that was created by the action that we're going to apply here. And you can see the action itself is that set, the state province set that we just created. Now, let's go over to our dashboard, and we're going to open up the action on the dashboard. Oops. The action on the dashboard. And this is what a set action looks like. Once again, give it a name. Now, what is the source sheet? Now, the source sheet is where we're going to get the values that we're going to put in the set. And I've used select this point for the set action. I didn't want to use hover. It gets a little busy when I'm moving the mouse around. So it's going to be based on select and the target set. Where are these values going to go? They're going to go to a set, that set that we created, the state province set. So that value now that contains all the states that set is going to change when we go to the value picker, the map, and select the states that we want to show. And we're going to assign the values to the set. And when I clear the set, I want to return so that all the values in the US are there. So now when we come to this state, I can select the state of Texas, for example, and we're looking at values for the state of Texas. All I've done on this chart here, someone's going to ask, so I've got it there. All I've done on this chart is I put the state province, the dimension for state, into the header so that we can see what we're looking at there. But we can also see right here, we're looking at Texas, or we can look at California. And what's actually happening here is a set is changing. And that set is being used to change the value on the bar chart. And if we wanted to look at multiple states, we could look at multiple states. So now we're looking at those 4 state values. Or we can look at that combination of state values. So using the value picker, we can change the set. And I use this all the time. And like I say, I love to use maps to do that. because for a user, it's intuitive to look at a map and say, oh, I want to look at California, or I want to look at Ohio, or I want to look at the UK, or I want to look at France or Italy or whatever. It's very intuitive way of communicating with the end user. Okay, now I'd like to take a look at a different type of action. This type of action is called a go-to action. And it's an action that it's an action that's set up that will take you from one sheet to another sheet. And I'm going to continue to use our map here, and I've got a map set up for our different map. It's a different chart. It's the same map of the US, but it's just a different chart. And I've got a detailed state level data, and I'm going to show you what these two look like. The map itself is just a map of the US, and all I've got on here is I've got region and state, and when I generate the map, it generates the longitude and latitude, and I've just got it color coded by region. And then at the detail level, I've got all the states, and then I've got some values associated with it. Now, I like to use this type of mechanism if I'm doing like a lookup. You know, if you wanted to do a lookup and you had a lot of attributes associated with a different item, here states, and you wanted to be able for the user to pick different states and then see the result as a filtered chart, this is one way of doing that. Now, I'm going to go back to this chart. You can see that I don't have any data on this dashboard other than the map itself. So when we come in here, I'd like to be able to select Texas. And now what's happened is we've gone to this worksheet. We're now on a worksheet. We're not on the dashboard anymore. And I see the state of Texas. And if I want to go back, we can go back and we can come back and look at the state of Ohio, for example. Now I want to show you something here. There's actually two things happening at the same time. I'm going to go to dashboard and I'm going to open up the action again. And on this sheet, there's actually two actions that are applied. One action is this go-to action on a sheet. And the way you set up this action is I've got the source sheet, which is going to be our map, and the target sheet is where do you want Tableau to go? Which sheet do you want it to go to? And I want it to go to the detailed state level sheet. And we could take a look at dashboards, or we can take a look at sheets on dashboard. I want it to go to that detailed state level sheet. And we're going to do that based on a select. Okay. Now, I've got another action here. And this is the same action we just looked at. This action is going to come off of this chart, this map, and it's going to change this parameter or this set to be included in the state. And this is the action that is actually providing the filter, if you will, on the detailed chart. It's the action that gives us Georgia. If that second action isn't there, if we were to come in and we were to say, no, wait a minute, I just want to do a go-to, and some people do. They want to go to, they just want to go to another sheet and work there, or they want to show there. If I remove this action, for example, all I'm going to do is go to the sheet. It's not filtered in. Okay? So if you only want to use a go-to action and go to a sheet, understand that you're not filtering as you do that. Now, I applied two actions to have the sheet filtered. And someone out there is saying, hey, Jim, you could have done that very simply. Much more simply, and you're absolutely correct, by just using a filter action. I could have used a filter action and not a go-to action. I could have gone from the sheet, from the map, to the detailed sheet and applied the filter with a single action and not had to do two. And that, sure enough, is the case. We can go out here to California, and we're only going to see California. So yes, you're right out there. Whoever picked that up, you're absolutely correct. I've got one last example that I want to show you, and this is a way that we can combine multiple actions on the same worksheet. I'm going to use this map again, and I'm going to use the map to create sets. And we've gone through how you create sets, so I'm not going to go through that again. But I've also got this other value picker up here, and this other value picker is the year of the order date. And if we were to look at that, this value picker is based on a parameter that I created. And I created a parameter that's just, select the year of the order date. And right now it's got a value in there, and I'm going to put a value in there, 2022. And then I'm not going to show it. I'm just going to hide it. And it's out there. And I'm going to show you how to use a parameter action to change the value in that parameter, and we'll change the chart accordingly. Let's take a look at the actions that are on this dashboard. And I've got two actions. Let's take a look at the parameter action, because that's the new one. You've seen the other one before. And this is what a parameter action looks like. It says, well, where am I going to get the data? And I'm going to get the data off of this chart that we just created with the year of the order date on it. And I've just used a circle chart here to pick those values. So when I pick any one of these values, I'm going to change the parameter. And the parameter I'm going to change is select year. That's the parameter we created. And the source field is the year of the order date, and there's no aggregation associated with it. I don't need that there. And it's based on a select. And the other parameter that we've seen before is, the other action that we've seen before is just a set action where we change the set value based on the map itself, and we assign the values to the set, and it's based on the select also. So now I've got the year of order date here as a parameter, and I can change that value to 2021, for example, or I can change it to 2023 or 2020, and you can see the chart change accordingly. Or we could just look at a single state. We're looking at the state of Texas in 2020 or 2022 or 2023. And you can see how these actions work in combination with one another. Well, that's what I wanted to share with you today. And I want to thank you for attending this series. All of what you've seen today, as well as any of the other videos in the series, the information for that is already out on my blog at jimdehner.com. Workbooks are available on my Tableau public site. And thank you very much for attending. I appreciate your support. Bye now.